So this is the M1 Abrams. We're talking about 78 tons of steel that can move at highway speeds on an unpaved road. Its main gun can punch through nearly a meter of armor from 2 kilometers away. It's an absolute marvel of engineering.
Which leads to a pretty serious question. Of the 31 of these advanced tanks that were sent to Ukraine, why have 27 of them already been documented as destroyed or disabled?
Well, the weakness isn't the armor, and it isn't the cannon. It's the engine. You see, the Abrams uses a gas turbine, a lot like what you'd find in a helicopter. Almost every other tank in the world uses a standard diesel, and that one engineering choice, made 50 years ago, is having massive consequences today.
To really understand why they made that choice, you have to look at the history of how we power these things. The very first tanks, back in World War I, were basically just tractor engines. They moved at a walking pace, and worse, they had a nasty habit of filling the crew compartment with carbon monoxide.
By World War II, things got a lot more complicated. American engineers got creative. They literally bolted 5 separate car engines together to power one version of the Sherman tank. The Germans, on the other hand, built these incredibly powerful engines for their Tiger tanks, but then just kept adding armor until the engines could barely move them. It was actually the Soviet engineers who had the real breakthrough. By mounting the engine sideways in their T-34, they made the whole tank much lower to the ground. It was a game changer, and basically every Russian tank since has followed that same design philosophy.
So let's jump to the 1960s. By then, the guns and targeting systems had gotten so good that whichever tank fired first was probably going to win. All of a sudden, mobility was everything. The Germans designed the super lightweight Leopard 1. The Soviets built the T-64 with a brand new engine and a massive cannon. The US and Germany tried to collaborate on a new super tank called the MBT-70. It was a complete failure, and the entire US tank program had to start over from scratch. Okay, so back at the drawing board, the US Army had 2 very different proposals in front of them. General Motors came in with a design that used a pretty conventional diesel engine. And then Chrysler came in with something radical, a design powered by a gas turbine. Now, a diesel engine has to build up its revs to deliver power. But a gas turbine, it gives you maximum power, maximum torque, almost instantly. So in the time it takes a diesel tank to even start moving, a turbine-powered tank is already shot across the ground to find cover. That incredible difference in acceleration was the single biggest reason they chose the turbine.
And the turbine had other selling points, especially for the kind of war they were planning to fight in Europe. It's a multi-fuel engine, so it can run on gasoline, diesel, kerosene, pretty much whatever you pour in it. It can also start up and give you full power in seconds, even at 40 degrees below zero. For a short, brutal war in Central Europe, it seemed like the perfect solution.
But here's the thing. The Soviets had already tried this. Their T-80 tank also used a turbine, and they found out it was incredibly complex and needed about 10 times more maintenance than a diesel engine. They never built another turbine-powered tank after that.
The biggest trade-off, though, is the fuel consumption. An Abrams burns through 1 liter of fuel to travel just 142 meters. For comparison, the German Leopard 2, which has a diesel engine, travels twice that far on the exact same amount of fuel.
An M1 Abrams with a full tank of fuel just sitting there and idling will run itself completely dry in less than 1 hour.
When the US was in Iraq, this wasn't a deal-breaker. They had the full might of American military logistics behind them. But in Ukraine, where fuel and parts are severely limited, this thirst for fuel dictates everything. Crews are forced to conduct short raids because they simply can't keep the tanks supplied for longer operations.
And that explains the kinds of losses we're seeing. Only 1 Abrams has been confirmed destroyed by another tank. The rest of them were knocked out by drones, missiles, and mines, threats that took advantage of a tank that couldn't stray too far from its supply lines.
So the lesson from Ukraine seems to be that any weapon system with huge logistical needs is a huge liability. It means tanks need a fundamental redesign. Russia's answer is the T-14 Armata, which uses a completely unmanned turret, while the crew sits safely inside an armored capsule in the hull.
The American response is a new project called the M1A2. And the very first step in the redesign is to shed a massive amount of weight, dropping from 78 tons down to 60.
It's also going to have an unmanned turret. But the most important change is the power plant, a new hybrid turbo diesel with an electric motor. This new system is expected to double the tank's operational range and, crucially, give it an all-electric mode for silent movement and a much lower heat signature.
So after a century of tank development, the data seems to point to one consistent lesson. The best engine isn't the most powerful one.
It's the one that's best suited to the logistical reality of the war you're actually fighting. An engine, it turns out, isn't just a piece of machinery. It's part of a supply chain.